What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Unstoppable Dad Project. Before we get into today's podcast, just my regular two favors. Number one, if you are able to subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform it is that you are listening to this on. So whether that be Apple, it be Spotify, it be Google Podcasts, or any other one of those fabulous podcast platforms, jump on, make sure you are subscribed. That way you can get notified with any new episodes that we release as we release them, and it will help us get in front of more people and get this podcast out to hopefully anyone who needs it or will get some entertainment from it. Number two, the second thing I would ask as a massive favor for you is jump on and follow us on the socials or like us on the socials. Number one, Instagram at The Unstoppable Dad, Facebook, The Unstoppable Dad Project. Jump on, give us a like, share our posts around, do all that stuff that you can do on the socials and help us grow this thing. Just on the Facebook thing, we have a free group for dads. I will be honest, I've been a little bit quiet in there over the last few weeks, but my intention over the next week or so is to start ramping up the value that I'm putting in there. So I'm going to start putting a lot more specific information around training and around nutrition, and I'm going to try and get some people that I've worked with over the years to provide you dads, you gents, some value in there. And just on that, that is kind of what today's podcast is about. Today's going to be a little bit of a quicker one because there's really not, I'm going to try not to go off on too many tangents when I'm discussing this, because I did say 2 weeks ago when I did the podcast on why I won't address nutrition first with people, I did say that I was going to do a second podcast where I'm kind of going to go into a little bit more of the X's and O's around when I do start to give people some nutritional guidelines, what are the things that we address. So I'm going to try and make this relatively quick, but before I go through those, there's basically three major things. Before I go into those three things, number one, anything where I start to talk about specifics is not meant to be health advice. I really believe that whatever we are talking about, whether it be on the podcast platform, whether it be going into, posts on Instagram or whatever the case might be, everything needs context. And you are an individual, you will be able to find things that work for you. So this is not direct health advice. This is stuff that when I work with people, we look at once I have ascertained that they are the right person to be delivering this information to. As I said 2 weeks ago, I did a podcast on why I won't address nutrition first. So I suggest if you are listening to this for the first time, go back and listen to that one first before you listen to this, because there are probably some things you need to think about within your own life before we start trying to implement the things that we're going to talk about today. Because some of these things, the three major things that I'm going to talk about and go into, and I'm not even going to talk about particular types of diet, right? You'll see people advocating keto, carnivore, vegan, whatever. Like, give me a name. I've heard it, I've come across it, and I've probably helped somebody that decided that that is the way they want to use it. I am all for freedom of choice. I am all for what you want to do within your own lifestyle. I am all for your beliefs around animal cruelty and all of that. That is your choice. That is your decision. I am not here to tell you it is wrong. What I am going to go into, though, is what I have found has worked for people. Number one thing that we look at is obviously quality of the nutrition that they eat. So I'm a big advocate for whole foods, whatever shape that takes. So, for me personally, when I talk about whole foods, we talk about good source animal protein, we talk about plenty of vegetables, we talk about, trying to avoid as much as we can anything processed. But I'm not a big believer in abstaining from things you enjoy. Okay, I think that by having the donut on the weekend with the kids, or you go to the bakery and you have that snack, that makes it easy for adherence in other aspects of life. Okay, so, but I think understanding how those things fit into your big picture relative to your goals, this is what I went through on the last thing. You have to understand your goals and you have to understand your own individual context. But food quality is kind of the first thing that we look at. And for us, we really advocate just good whole foods. We don't advocate abstaining from things, because what we want to do whenever I work with somebody is whatever we implement, we want to make sure it's sustainable. Because if it's not sustainable, you're going to get a particular result. So say, for example, if your goal is weight loss. If your goal is weight loss and you go ahead and you lose 10 kilos, and you lose it in a way where you have implemented an eating style, or you have implemented a regime that you've done for, say, 6 weeks, you've lost the 10 kilos, but at the end of that 6 weeks, you are not able to maintain those actions, habits, and behaviors that you've done, you are not going to be able to keep the 10 kilos off. Because the saying that I use a lot is, whatever actions, habits, and behaviors you have used to get a result, if you want to keep that result, you have to continue to do those same actions, habits, and behaviors. So whatever we do, we want to make sure it's sustainable. So the first thing is food quality. And whatever diet that looks like for you lines up with your religious beliefs, your social beliefs, what you want to do for the environment, etc. You can work that out within those. But really, we're just advocating whole foods, like good, clean, healthy foods. Try and limit the amount of processed stuff that you have, but also make sure that you are able to successfully stick to it, and you're really, you enjoy what you're doing. You enjoy eating. You should enjoy eating. It shouldn't be a chore. You should feel guilty for what you are eating or how you're eating it. So that's one. And then number two, we start to get into the numbers, so the X's and O's. Number two is the overall caloric load. So this is different for everybody. Anybody that says or it gives you a shake plan or whatever the fuck it is, where it's like you have to eat 1,200 calories a day, is 100% absolutely full of shit and does not know what they are doing. And you can quote me on that. You can send this through to whoever you like if somebody has told you that. If somebody tells you that, or somebody gives you that prescription, run as fast as you can in the other direction, because they are a charlatan, they are a snake oil salesman, and they need to be put in their place. So number one, you need to understand what your own energy expenditure is going to be, and then you need to understand what your prescription is going to be in order for you to hit your goal. So if it is weight loss or weight gain, you need to know, say for example, for me, and I've been through the weight loss bit a little bit from the point of view of cutting weight for jiu-jitsu. I know on average, with my level of activity, my body mass, like the way I am, I naturally sit at around 72 kilos. I'll generally burn on average between 2,500 to 3,000 calories a day. Now, I'm quite active. I will do at a minimum 1 hour training session a day, pretty much every day of the week. Some days that will be more, and then I have coaching, which is obviously an active job. So it does fluctuate because it depends on my activity level, but that's on average. So what I'll generally do if I am looking to cut weight for competition, and I won't do that anymore. I'm not going to do it anymore, and I'll probably do another podcast on why. But the underlying thing is it's kind of just too hard to fit into my life, and I didn't really enjoy the competitions where I was looking to cut down. But it depends on how much time I've got, depends on how much weight I'm looking to cut. But if I wanted to start to lose, say, 1 kilo a week, I'm going to kind of put myself in about a 200 to 300 calorie deficit each week. So like if I went way to the low end, I'm going to still be eating about 2,200 calories a day, which is going to allow me to kind of lose, probably around 1 kilo a week. And then I'll do that for an extended period of time. But, in doing that, I understand my energy balance. I understand what I'm trying to achieve. So that's the number two thing. You need to understand, your energy balance, how many calories you're burning. And you probably need somebody to help you with that. There are calculators on the internet which will give you a ballpark figure, but there are a few more precise ways which you can do it rather than some of the internet calculators out there. And then if your goal is truly to lose weight, you probably need to start weighing and measuring your food to make sure that you are getting the right stuff, right amount of things. This isn't a habit that I recommend for anybody. In fact, I recommend it for very few people. Once you understand how many calories you need to eat a day, you probably need to jump on and do something like MyFitnessPal, where you're popping in the amount of food that you're eating. And in order to get an accurate reading and know what is going on, you need to know exactly how much food is going into your body. So that will involve actually getting a set of measuring scales and weighing your food so that you can get an accurate reading on exactly what is going in. How many grams of protein, how many grams of carbohydrates, how much fat, so on and so forth. And a tool like MyFitnessPal or something like that can help you extrapolate those numbers, but there is a vast difference in the quantity of food, the caloric load of food. Say, for example, if we're using chicken breast as an example, between 50 grams of chicken breast and 100 grams of chicken breast. And if you're guesstimating, you may get it right and you may get that ballpark figure, but you may also not. And the chances of you not when you're guessing are probably higher than you are. So that's the second thing. Trying to get a number for yourself around your goals, around where you are currently, around your activity level, from the amount of calories that you need to consume per day in order to get you close to your goal. And the third thing and the second number that we look at is protein intake. And you're generally looking at 1.5 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of lean body mass. So you can get a scan, you can do calipers, things like that. One thing that and to begin with, get your overall body mass and go somewhere between 1.5 to 2 grams of protein for your overall body mass. Despite what some people on the internet will tell you, you can't overconsume protein. In fact, there is some evidence out there to suggest that if you are looking to maintain lean muscle mass, the higher your protein intake, couple that with resistance training, you will be able to actually maintain more muscle mass, and muscle synthesis will be improved by consuming more protein. So they're the three things that we normally look at once someone is ready to look at the nutrition side of things. Number one, look at food quality. Try and get good, clean, healthy food as much as you can, but also enjoying the things that you like to have. Number two, we look at your overall caloric load. This is going to be so vastly different based off where you're at now, where your body composition is, what your goals are, what your activity level are. This is going to be an individual number. This is not a blanket number. And number three is the amount of protein that you're consuming. If you aim between 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight per day, you will generally be able to maintain or increase lean muscle mass and improve your body composition, which is what a lot of people really want to do. Okay, by focusing on those three things, generally you can fit in things that you enjoy to eat, you can fit in any style of eating that you want to do, and that's kind of a broad blanket statement on what we do once we actually get into the nitty-gritty of nutrition. Now, I'm going to emphasize again, this is not meant to be health advice. These are kind of blanket recommendations, right? If you have any underlying health concerns, if you have any underlying issues, you need to consult a professional before you undertake any of this. And also, too, I strongly recommend, if this is the first podcast that you listen to and you haven't listened to the podcast that I did on why I won't address nutrition first with people, please go and listen to that before you implement any of this, and just have a real think about what your actual goals are and why you have the narrative around you need to improve your food or you need to improve your body composition, because I think that's very important. And as always, if you have any specific questions, feel free to reach out. Jump in our Facebook group, post the questions up there. Guarantee you, if you are holding back a question around this stuff, there is probably at least 10 other people in that group that have exactly the same question. So jump on, pop a question in there, interact, engage. The more you guys interact, engage, the more questions you ask, the more information I can give you around the stuff that you want to hear. So that is a little bit of a rant, a little bit of my thoughts on, and I guess our loose guidelines on what we generally do with people once we start getting into the nitty-gritty of nutrition. And it is guidelines. It's not specifics. It's not meal plans. It's basically, these are some guide rails, and then as adults, as men, we can work out what is going to work for us and for our families within those. And that will hopefully help make you a strong, healthy, functioning male that will be able to lead the way for their family physically. All right, that is it for this week. Hopefully you got some value from it. As always, drop me a line if you have any questions, but jump on, like us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, jump into the free group that I've got there for dads, and we will talk to you again soon.